Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. فقال الله تعالى في سورة محمد فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله. وعن معاوية رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من يرد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين متفق عليه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The ayah that I recited is from Surah Muhammad. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the Prophet. The fi'l used over here is fi'l amr. Inshallah, when we get to that, we'll look into what that is all about. But this is the command. This is the fi'l of amr or command. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands to know La ilaha illallah, to seek the knowledge of La ilaha illallah. Knowledge of the deen, ya ikhwan, knowledge of the Quran, knowledge of the hadith, especially the knowledge of La ilaha illallah is obligatory upon everyone, is obligatory upon every human being to know the meaning of La ilaha illallah. This is the kalima that separates us from different groups, from different religions, from different societies. This is the reason why many people got slaughtered in the way of Allah. Many people had to give up their lives and wealth for the sake of Allah. This is that kalima, La ilaha illallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another place, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. And verily, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا, we have sent in every nation, بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا, in every nation a messenger saying أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. When you understand the meaning of the ayah, it has the same meaning as La ilaha illallah. أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ, worship only one Allah. Do not associate partners with Him. وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, and do not worship anything besides Allah. This is the obligatory knowledge. Do we really understand the meaning of La ilaha illallah? Do we really know the meaning? Do we know its conditions? Do we know its pillars? If any one of you get some time, then please do check out the video series on our YouTube channel by the name of Kalima Tawheed. Kalima Tawheed covers the pillars. The video series covers the pillars, the conditions, and whatever necessitates La ilaha illallah, the meaning and correct translation of La ilaha illallah. The hadith that I started with, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever Allah wishes goodness for, He gives him the understanding of the religion. مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. He gives him the understanding of the religion. If you are someone that has an interest to learn the deen, then this is a glad tiding for you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the correct understanding of the deen and help us to seek knowledge, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and die upon Tawheed. Let's do a quick recap, and if you can give me a brief overview of whatever we covered in the last class, that will be really nice. Jazakallah khair.
So last class we covered different types of ism, 4 things that would determine a word to be ism. So those 4 things were, the first one is jins, origins,
Yes.
which means gender. There are two types of gender only: mudhakkar, muannas, masculine, feminine. And then the second one is adad, which is quantity, and there are three types of them. First one is one wahid, and then second one matna,
Muthanna.
mutanna. And then if it is more than two, it comes under jama. And then the third one was the wusar, which is capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are two types of them: ma'rifa and nakira. And the fourth one is era, which means status. And era means um, 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 something which, I mean, the change in the status of the word is, so change the status of the ism without changing the meaning. Because in Arabic there is no sequence. Sequence doesn't matter, and what matters is era, the status. So in Arab there are three types. The first one is rafa, rafa, nasab, jar. So last time we took an example of Zaydun, Nasara, Zaydun,
Done.
Hamadan. So in that, Zaydun, Dun is Rafa, and then Nasab is if it was Hamadan, so then is Nasab, and then Jar is Din, Hamadan.
Jazakallahu khairan. I feel like giving you a hug, but I have a mic attached. Jazakallah khair. Wonderful. You can take some, or you can keep it there. Jazakallah khair. So it means that, mashallah, tabarakallah, you have did some homework and really worked out on this. And honestly speaking, even if it were me for the first time, probably I wouldn't be able to see it without looking. But that shows the hard work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and grant the khair of both the worlds. We were talking about La ilaha illallah. Let's quickly go over the kalima tawheed, the kalima that we have. It says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So the word Muhammad in the kalima, the word Muhammad, Muhammadur Rasulullah. So if you look at it carefully, what status does it have? Rafa. Yeah, Rafa. So it's actually Rafa, but because, while saying we are not Arab, so it's okay if you say Rafa, no problem with that. It's Rafa, Nasb and Jar. But while saying it, if we say Rafa, Nasab, Jar, that's completely fine for the scope of this course. So this is in Rafa, okay? And if you listen to the, if you ponder over the Shahada, which is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan, right? So it's it's in Nasb. It's in Nasb. And if you, when you read Durud, you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad din. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin. Muhammadin. So that's in Jar. So we have read, we read this all the time, but now you get that understanding that Muhammadun is the status, the i'rab here is Rafa, Muhammadan is Nasb, and Muhammadin is Jar. Now at this point we cannot understand why it is in Rafa, why it is in Nasb, why it is in Jar. We will get to that later, but we need to understand and identify the i'rab. we need to understand by looking at the ism, by looking at the noun, you should be able to tell the status of ism. So we'll look into jins, adat and wusat. We'll take it step by step. But before we go into that, we need to have a very good understanding of how the different asma look in rafa, in nasb and jar. So in this class, inshallah ta'ala, we'll take some examples, and it is more of a practice class because we want to make sure that we are good enough before we move on to another, before we move on to the other. We have a bunch of words written over here. Let me erase. Now what I would like you to do, and also the people who are listening and watching online, please write these words down. Please write these words down, and I'll give some time for that. No problem with that. And after you write those words down, I want you to write this word in all the three different i'rab or statuses. So you would write the word in rafa, you will write the word in nasb, and you will write the word in jar. Okay, so for you, you can either write it over here itself. If you want to come and write, that will be good, because we have the words written. So you can choose whatever color, and so let me write this. So let's write okay. So you can take each word, and don't worry about the handwriting, that's not important at this point. I want you to take each word and write the rafa, nasb and jar in that. Do you want a different color or do you want black?
Fine with black.
Okay, go ahead. Jazakallah khair. And I want the viewers to do the same. We will give some time for that until he completes it. Can take a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I wanted to tell you over here, that in nasb, there would be an alif, extra alif, and then there will be these two fathatain. Okay, so for every word, wherever you have in nasb, you put an extra alif. Okay, and we'll see more to it later on. Jazakallahu khairan. So we saw that we have these words, these asma. Asma is the plural of ism. They have, their appearance looks different, their harakat change, in rafa, in nasb and jar. Um, I would like you to the rest of them take it as a homework and practice this so that you get more understanding and used to how we can differentiate between these asma. So you can take these words, write it down, do it as a homework. And as far as the meanings of these words, fasiq, let's go over the meanings if in case anyone is not aware of the meanings. Fasiq is someone who is rebellious sinner. That's the word used for that. You know, Rasul is messenger. Bait, house, home. Insan, I mean, who insan is. Salih, righteous, pious. Muslim, you know that. Bab, door. Rajul, man, man. And Sadiq is someone who is truthful. Mu'min, you know that. Jidar, wall. Jidar means wall. Talib, student. And kafir, you know, masjid is a mosque. Qalam, pen. Munafiq, hypocrite. Muallim, a teacher. And kitab, book. So in case there are some words that you do not know the meaning of, so I would recommend that towards the end of your book, you write whenever you come across a word that's new to you, so you should write that word down with its along with its meaning. So what will happen is as we proceed in the course and later on, you will have like a list of new words that you have learned, and that is how you improve your vocabulary. Because once you learn grammar, you know the rules, but you'll not know the words, what those words mean. So that's how you improve the vocabulary. Make a habit of writing a word and its meaning whenever you come across a new. As I said, that these words have different i'rab. They look different. Their status in all the three different statuses or all the three different i'rab, the way how they look, their appearance, or maybe in English you would call it that as spelling. So that changes in all the three different scenarios, three different statuses. So this is important. Such words or such asma are about 85% in the Arabic language. What does that mean? That means that there are some asma which look the same. Their appearance does not change in all the three different statuses, about 15% of them, right? So 85% or the majority of asma, they look different in all three different scenarios. That's important. But there are the rest 15%. The rest 15% have some similarities. We'll get into that a little bit later, probably in the next class, but just so that you know. Okay. With that, let me erase this and go into some exceptions in case of nasb. So we said that while you were writing the nasab part, we know that the asma look different in all the three different statuses. The only change that we have is tanween, right? So in rafa it is dhammatain or two dhammas. In nasab it is fathatain or two fathas, and in jar it is kasratain or two kasar. But in nasab you have an extra alif at the end. Okay, so that is like the rule, that if there is an ism and it has two fathas on it, so it will have an alif. Okay, it will have an alif at the end, but that is the general rule. But whenever there is a general rule, there will be some exceptions. So we look into those exceptions, and the good news is they are just. What is this word? Jannah, right? When we write Rafa, Nasb and Jar for Jannah, that would be Jannatun, Jannatan, and Jannatin. Okay, Jannatun, Jannatun, Jannatan, Jannatin. Okay. Amila. Let's take the word Amila. So it would be Amilatun, Amilatan, and Amilatin. Okay, what do you notice here with regards to nasb, the form of nasb? What do you notice here? There is no alif. And do you see anything similar in these two asma? Ta marbuta, yeah, it's called a ta marbuta. The ta marbuta, whenever there is a ta marbuta at the end, the first exception to the rule is, what was the rule? What was the rule in case of nasb?
Alif in the end and then
Two fathas, right? That was the rule. Now the first exception to that is this is exception number 1. Okay. Let me write it this way. Whenever there is a ta marbuta at the end, what happens is the alif is not present at the end. In case of nasab, the alif is not present. That is what we learned. That was the first exception. The second exception is, let's take the word what is this? Sama, right? Sama. When you write Rafa, Nasb and Jar for Sama, Sama'un, Sama'in. So the second exception is whenever there is alif and hamza at the end, whenever there is alif and hamza at the end, it does not have an alif after the hamza. So these were the two exceptions. The first was, what was the first exception?
the
Ta marbuta. Whenever there is a ta marbuta,
you do not add the alif after the
exactly. And what was the second one? Whenever there is alif and hamza, right? So the alif and hamza together are important because if they do not have if there's an hamza at the end, but there is no alif before hamza, so it doesn't work. Then you have to have the alif at the end. Okay, so that's how it is. Like for example, shay. Let me write it separately. Shay means a thing. Shay'un. Okay, so shay'un, shay'an, and shay'in. So in this case, if you look at it, there is a hamza at the end, but there is a hamza, but there is no alif in front of the hamza. Okay, so that's why it has an alif at the end. So the exception to the rule is it should be alif and hamza together at the end. This is how it is. This makes sense. Is it clear? Any questions until now? I think that so there's a question that is asking for Rafa, Nasab, and Jar. So I would recommend that please go and watch the second class again, so that you get a proper understanding of Rafa, Nasab, and Jar. Rafa, Nasab, and Jar, we gave 3 examples in the previous class, which is class 2, and we explained that it is the i'rab or the status, and what means by that is change in the status of ism without change in its meaning. This is called i'rab, and every ism has 3 i'rabs. Those are called rafa, nasab, and jar. So that's why you can see that Arabic is a language which is very connected. The concepts are very connected to the previous concepts, so you cannot proceed until you have a good understanding of the previous class. So for the brother that asked, I would advise that please go over the class 2 of this course and watch it again, and inshallah, if you have some questions, you can get back to me on that. I'll be more than happy to answer them and explain them once again. Does it look very complicated at this point? Are things making sense? Alhamdulillah. As I said in the first class, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he said in his introduction of the book Al-Ajrumiyah, he was teaching that mostly the Arabs, even the Arabs have to learn Arabic grammar to understand their language, the way how we learn English grammar and Urdu at our initial stages. So he said that there was an ant, and there was a scholar who was finding it very difficult to understand Nahu or Arabic grammar. So he saw an ant, and that ant was trying to pick something up and like carrying its food and trying to climb upon something. That ant was like trying to carry the food and climb upon something, and it was falling down. So but the ant kept trying. The ant like had the food over its head, and then it would climb, and then it would fall, and then it would come back and try again. So that scholar, he saw this ant, and then he said to himself, when the ant is not giving up, because at the end the ant was successful after multiple tries, then I won't give up. And this is what Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah said in his words. Inshallah, I will share that video in the group, and you can take a look at that. So he gave an example that Nahu or Arabic grammar is like a house, the house which is made up of sugarcane or reed, which is very light, but the door of that house is made of iron. So once you are able to enter, it is very easy for you, but the door is hard to break. So in initial phases you would find some difficulty, but once you are used to the rules and how they work and how they are connected, inshallah it's not that easy. Sorry, it's not that difficult. Until now, we understood that you know what i'rab is, you know the three different statuses, rafa, nasb, jar, and you know that ism has 85% of the asma. Most of them look different in three different statuses. Okay, and for nasb we add an alif, but there is an exception to the rule. There's an exception, sorry, there are two exceptions to the rule. One exception is that if there's a ta marbuta, then you don't add an alif, and the other exception is if it ends with alif and hamza, you don't add an alif. So let's take a practical example of what we have studied so far. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية. There was a lack of space, so I did not go for the ayahs after this. But you see, all of us recite Suratul Ghashiyah. Most of us have memorized, but like we are at this level that we can look into these ayahs and we can say something about the words or the asma that are used in these ayahs. So let's start with the second ayah, because the first ayah is pretty much complex. We haven't reached that part yet. We'll go into the meaning after we discuss the grammatical aspect, insha'Allah ta'ala. وجوه يومئذ خاشعة وجوه يومئذ خاشعة. This word khashi'atun, okay, and all of us know from tajweed, from the rules of tajweed, that whenever there is a ta marbuta at the end and you are stopping at ta marbuta, so that becomes a ha. This is from the rules of tajweed. So if you are stopping at khashi'a, you would say khashi'a, you won't say yawma idhin khashi'atun, because we are stopping. Okay, so I think that's something we don't need to go over. Khashi'atun, what is the status or what is the i'rab of this ism? Khashi'atun, rafa. And amilatun nasibatun, what is the i'rab of these two words, these two nouns? Rafa. tasla naran hamiyah, nasb, excellent. tusqa min aynin aniyah, aynin aniyah, jar, right? laysa lahum ta'amun, rafa. illa min dhari'in, jar. la yusminu wa la yughni min ju'in, jar. wujuhun, rafa. yawma idhin na'imah, rafa. lisa'yiha radiyah, rafa. Excellent. So this is what helps us to tell the i'rab or the status. So for these words or these asma that we saw, For these asma that we saw, if I were to ask you to write the nasb and jar for wujuh, then you will be able to write it very easily, because all you have to do is change the harakat at the end. And same for khashi'atun. So khashi'atun, khashi'atan, khashi'atin. Amilatun, amilatun nasibatun, amilatun, amilatan, amilatin. Nasibatun, nasibatan, nasibatin. Hamiyatun, hamiyatan. What is the rafa for hamiya? Tun, it will be hamiyatun. Narun, narun, naran, narin. You can see the alif and aniyatin. So the rafa and nasb will be aniyatun, aniyatan. And ju', ju'un, ju'an, ju'in. Wujuhun, wujuhan, wujuhin. Na'imatun, na'imatan, na'imatin. Radiyatun, radiyatan, radiyatin. Seems difficult? No. Very easy to identify the i'rab. Very easy to identify the i'rab. Let's go into the meaning of that. Let's go into the meaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هل أتاك حديث الغاشية. Have you heard about the news of al-ghashiyah? Al-ghashiyah means something that's overwhelming, and it is one of the names of al-qiyamah. Al-qiyamah, we all know what al-qiyamah is. There are different names that have been used in the Quran. Al-ghashiyah is one of them. We have al-qiyamah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also called it al-haqqah, suratul haqqah. Al-waqiyah, suratul waqiyah. Al-qari'ah. So these are all different names of al-qiyamah. So have you heard about the news of al-ghashiyah? What is overwhelming? The qiyamah. Have you heard? Wujuhun yawma idhin khashi'ah. On that day, yawma idhin, wujuhun are faces. Faces, wujuh, wajh is the face. Wujuh is the plural, wajh is singular. So on that day, faces, yawma idhin khashi'ah. Khashi'ah means humble, or in the tafsir, if you read tafsir Ibn Kathir of this surah, it is referring to those faces that are humiliated, like they are lowered in humiliation. Yawma idhin khashi'ah. They have like humiliation, and they have lowered their faces. Who? Amilatun nasibah. These are those people that have worked really hard. They have worked really hard. Amilatun it comes from amal. Amilatun nasibatun means someone who has worked hard and has exhausted all his efforts. Amilatun nasibatun. Tasla naran hamiyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that such people who have worked hard and exhausted themselves, tasla naran hamiyah. They will be entered into nar, Jahannam. Hamiyatun, that is very hot. Hamiyatan, it's extremely hot. Why were those people who worked really hard and they got exhausted themselves, they will be entered into Jahannam? Why? Umar radiallahu anhu, he met a monk, and this is from Ibn Kathir. You can take a look at Ibn Kathir for this surah. He was passing by and he met a monk who really worked hard, and he had become like exhausted through his hard work, through his worship. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he looked at him and started crying. He started crying. Why? Because even after that hard work, even after that hard work, they will tasla naran hamia. They will be caused to enter into the hellfire, which is very hot. Why? Why? Even if they worked really hard, then what was the problem with that? The direction was, even they worked really hard, but they worked in the wrong direction. So what do we learn from the ayah is to work hard in the right direction, because that hard work that you do, um, if that is in worship, if that is uh, in opposition to Tawheed, and if that is in opposition to the Sunnah, and people do lots of things these days on different occasions. If you ask them why do you do that, they say we are doing this to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do this in the name of religion, in the name of deen. So the ayah, this ayah points to the fact that even if you are working really hard, it can still cause you to enter the fire if your hard work is not in the correct direction. So that is very important. Tusqa min aynin aniya. Now when there is this harsh fire and when you are caused to enter it, what happens? You get thirsty, right? When there's extreme summer, you get thirsty. So they will get thirsty. May Allah protect us. They will be given min aynin aniyah. They will be given, ayn refers to a spring, refers to a spring of aniya, hot boiling water. When they will ask, they will get thirsty and they would want to drink, so they will be given something to drink that will be extremely hot, boiling from ayn, from a spring. Okay. Laysa lahum ta'amun. When you get thirsty, you also need something to eat, right? So they will have food and drink in Jahannam. They will have, so first Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the drink and then talks about the food. Laysa lahum ta'amun illa min dhari'in. Laysa lahum ta'amun. Ta'amun, we all know what ta'am is, refers to food. Their food will be nothing except for illa min dhari'in. Illa min dhari'in. Dhari' is, this was known among the Arabs as a very thorny plant, something which is very thorny, not very good, and is poisonous. So if you look at the translation of dhari, you will see a poisonous thorny plant. So they will be given something to eat, but that will be dhari, that will be a thorny plant. لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع. يغني من جوع. So when you eat something, why do you eat? Why do we eat? Because to survive and to remove our hunger, right? So two things. One is to remove hunger, and when we eat something, we get nutrients from it. It nourishes our body and allows us to, like for a growing child, it gives those essential nutrients so that the child will grow and feel nourished, right? So this, the food that they will be given, la yusminu wa la yughni min ju'. So these two things will be absent from that. La yusminu, the food that they will have, it will not nourish it. It will not have anything that will cause them to increase or feel good or feel better, like the food that we have, the nutrients and whatever. So la yusminu, that will not cause it. Wala yughni min ju', and it will also not remove the hunger, their hunger. Whenever we eat some food, if we feel hungry and we have some food, it removes the hunger and it makes us feel good, gives the nutrients. So this food will not have both of these things. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts talking about wujuhun yawma idhin na'imatun. Some faces, so these were the faces that this is the azab for them. Now, as for those those faces, yawma idhin na'imah, they will be rejoicing. They will be rejoicing. There will be some faces that will be humiliated, and there will be other faces, those who have been successful, those who worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon Tawheed, and who followed the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will yawma idhin na'imah, they will be rejoicing, they will be happy, happy about this day. لِسَعْيِهَا رَاضِيَةٌ. Sa'iha is that your hard work that you did in this world, as you said, it paid off when you are done with your exam and when you see your result. So your hard work, because even these people are doing hard work, right? And both groups are doing hard work, but the hard work that these people did, it's of no use. It's of no use. But these people, the hard work that they did, they are satisfied on that. They are satisfied and they are happy. They are rejoicing about that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you know, the ayat after this, لِسَعِيهَا رَاضِيَةٌ فِي جَنَّةٍ عَالِيَةٍ لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية. Even they have an ain, they have spring. فيها عين جارية. Then the remaining ayat. So we know the meaning of Suratul Ghashiyah, and we at this point we may not know the meaning of each and every word and each and every rule, but the takeaway of this is to understand those asma that we have taken so far as having different statuses in different era, right? So we have Rafa, Nasb and Jar, and we saw that how they look in the three different statuses, and then we saw two exceptions to the rule, right? So I think this should be a good point to stop.
Good question. You got confused when you said 85% of the words and then the 15%. So can you just repeat that again?
Yeah, so that is something we'll take in the next class. But at this point, the nouns or the asma that we saw, they are among those asma which have which look three different ways in Rafa, in Nasb and Jar, in all the three i'rab. Because there are some asma which look the same in Nasb and Jar and look different in Rafa. And then there are the third category is they look the same in all the three different i'rab, right? So the asma that we looked in today's class, they are called munsarif. They are called munsarif. Munsarif, now a very rough translation for the sake of understanding, you can use the word flexible nouns, flexible asma. They look different in all the three different statuses. They have a different look, different appearance in Rafa, in Nasb and Jar. Okay. Then we have something called Ghair Munsarif, which is, from the word that it is not Munsarif. These look same in Nasb and Jar, but they look different in Rafa. Okay, we will get to this when we take some examples, so don't try to get confused. These look the same. We'll take it from here in the next class, so we'll get to this again, but for the sake of your question, these look same in Nasb and Jar, okay, but in Rafa they look different. We'll take an example. Okay, we'll take an example. Let's say what is this? Ibrahim. So when you write Rafa, Nasb and Jar, Ibrahimu, Ibrahima, Ibrahima. There is no Ibrahimi. Rafa, Nasb and Jar. So this word is Ghair Munsarif. Okay. And these are about 13% of the total words. Majority of them look different. Then we have 85%. These are 13%. Then there are those 2% which are called as Mabni. Mabni Asma are those who look same in all the three different statuses. For example, Isa, Isa, Isa. Musa, Musa, Musa. Hada, Hada, Hada. Alladhi, Alladhi, Alladhi. We'll get into that in the next class. So we said that these are, let me write it with another color. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions, then please let me know. These are about 85%. These are about 13%. These are about 2%. Okay, and inshallah ta'ala in next class we will start from here. The ones that we studied are Munsarif. We'll start from Ghair Munsarif. Any questions apart from that?
Just to confirm, Munsarif are all the three Arab are different, and Ghair Munsarif, the Nasab and Jar are same, and in Mubni, all the three are same.
You got it. Barakallahu feek. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.